So this came out later than I intended it to. If anyone's been reading my posts, I removed into my dad's. So, and then I have exams next week, coming Monday. But I got the video. So we can just get into this one, which I'm quite proud of, actually. What is the T-virus? In Resident Evil 2, we're first introduced to the Umbrella Corporation. The corporation used the cover of being a pharmaceutical company while experimenting with BOWs, also known as biological organic weapons. Biological weapons were officially banned from use in times of war or at all in 1972. They were banned because of the effects of biological organic weapons inflicted on those in Vietnam, particularly napalm. Umbrella created what is called the G-virus. The G-virus was meant to create super soldiers that wouldn't stay down after being shot. It was meant to be a war advantage, but in reality, what it did was start the beginning of the end. The G-virus somehow escaped the facility, making its way to the sewers. The sewers would be filtered by the water filtration plants, but not well enough. Civilians would drink the water, unknowingly becoming infected. The G-virus would eventually mutate to what we know as the T-virus. The fall of Raccoon City. On September 29, 1998, the outbreak began. People who had drunk the contaminated water were beginning to not only show symptoms, but also turn. Many of them would turn into shambling corpses, zombies, to put it simply. At this point, the G-virus was beginning to mutate. Before long, the G-virus would mutate into what we know as the T-virus. The T-virus has shown proof of attacking the T cells of the immune system. The variants of the T-virus. The T-virus is known for turning people into shambling corpses, but that is not the only variant it has created in Raccoon City. Tyrants. The T-virus, also known as the Tyrant virus, is responsible for creating the variant Tyrant. The Tyrant can be created through one of two ways: from a human being infected by the T-virus, or from a cloning of such a creature. The Tyrants are large, muscular abominations, an amalgamation of muscle and necrosis that is incredibly difficult to shoot down. They are extremely strong, but appear a bit slower than some of their other brethren. Lickers. The bane of every player's existence, the Lickers. The Licker is an abomination capable of climbing walls and resting on the ceiling. They occur when an infected human has caught a more severe strain of the T-virus that causes rapid cell growth. They look as though their muscles have been exposed and their skin melted from their body, with massive muscular forearms and calves with large, sharp, bony claws on their fingers and toes. Their brains are exposed, leaving a weak point. Their spines and the tops of their ribs can be seen through a torn hole in their back. That's before you look at the Licker's mouth. Its maw is filled with overlapping, jagged teeth and a long tongue. The Licker's eyes are gone, leaving only its other senses for it to hunt prey. Hence why it has such a long tongue. As one excerpt from the game says, they're blind as a bat, but make up for it with their hearing and speed. Zombies. Do I even have to explain this one? Cerberus. The Cerberus in classic mythology is described as the three-headed dog that guards the underworld. Said to be sleek and black and requires something before you may enter. However, in Resident Evil, this is not the case. Cerberus is what dogs that have been infected are called. Not as rotted as their human counterparts, but incredibly violent. In Resident Evil 2, Plant 42. In Resident Evil 2, Leon sprayed the last of the G-virus onto a bunch of plants in the Umbrella Corporation's lab. At first, this seems like it might be a smart option. until Resident Evil Requiem, when Plant 42 was introduced. Plant 42 is exactly what it sounds like. A highly aggressive infected plant. That's all I could really call it. Easy to kill. Just use fire. What is Elpis? In Greek mythology, every god, minor or major, represents something. They gave the ancient Greeks something that could help explain things they had not yet gotten the insight to explain otherwise. Elpis was the minor goddess of hope, a personified symbol of hope, a spirit that gave people a reason to keep going. In Resident Evil Requiem, we are introduced to the founder of the Umbrella Corporation, Oswald E. Spencer. Spencer says he does not believe in hope, but he wanted to give people hope in case the G virus, created by Dr. William Birkin, ever escaped the facility. Spencer created an antiviral because of the fear that Dr. Birkin wouldn't be able to keep the virus contained. The last hope of the world. He called it Elpis. Symptoms. We do not outright get to be told the symptoms of the T-virus. However, in Resident Evil Requiem, we can observe the symptoms in two people. The main character I will use to demonstrate is Leon S. Kennedy. Yes, I use this as an excuse to talk about him. First things first, the newly infected person must have been bitten by someone infected with the virus. The earliest signs we can see of the T-virus is necrotic veins. These will appear black, pulsing, decaying. To hide these, we see Leon wearing gloves and long sleeves constantly. The next sign of infection is coughing. This could be mistaken for anything, allergies, a common cold, flu, or any of those sorts, which is why it is so difficult to spot so many kinds of infections. They tend to attack our respiratory system and immune system. The next symptom we can catalog is dizziness or vertigo. Despite what we can see from the games, the fan wiki sites state these as the stages. Stage 1. This is referred to as the initial stage. These early symptoms include fatigue, intense itching, sweating, and severe skin rashes as cellular breakdown begins. These symptoms can often be mistaken for a common cold or flu and are often ignored. Stage 2. In this symptom, mental decline begins. At this stage, the cerebral neocortex has begun to undergo necrosis. By this point, the T-virus, being something that the human body has never handled at any time in history, has gotten past the host's white blood cells and manages to get through the blood-brain barrier. Stage 3. This stage is known as the zombie stage. By this stage, it is too late. By this point, the brains cease any higher function. They no longer remember who they were. They no longer remember family. They are simply cannibalistic, shambling, undead. This is a rare occurrence. Stage 4. This is a rare occurrence when a subject's body begins to mutate into a licker or tyrant. Cerberus and Plant 42 do not count in this placement. All of this happens within the span of only 96 hours, if the host is lucky. My personal theory of creation. No disease comes from nowhere. The same with poisons like anthrax. I have a theory of which diseases were used to create the T-virus. Dr. William Birkin would have to source different diseases to create the virus that he intended to use to enhance human biology. In the movie Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City, find it on Hulu, it's a great movie, we can see a symptom that may be able to point us to where it began. A kind waitress, who was unnamed in the movie, was bleeding from one eye. When Leon, played by, I'm going to butcher his name, Avon Jogia, please tell me if I mispronounced it, asked her if she was okay, she responded that it had been happening for weeks. This is the first sign that we can point us somewhere. The Ebola virus. I'm no scientist and cannot do a deep dive into this deadly disease, so I won't. However, I can point out one of the symptoms of Ebola. A very common sign of Ebola tends to be bleeding from the eyes, mouth, ears, or other orifices, sometimes your own skin. Another source of the virus may have come from is the rabies virus. It's a common theory for horror fans to instantly assume that a zombie virus comes from rabies, minus the Last of Us fans. They get a real explanation. It makes sense, right? Rabies is spread through the saliva of an infected individual or animal to enter the bloodstream from a bite commonly. There is even more evidence backing these up. In the series of games and the movies, we are told that the T virus had leaked into the water supply, much like how Ebola was spread to epidemic levels through unclean drinking water that Eastern African people drank from. More evidence is found in the movie. When a trucker's dog licked blood from an infected the trucker had hit unknowingly at the start of the movie, it soon began to turn around in the middle of the movie, foaming at the mouth, eyes glossing over, and bit its owner on the hand. The Ebola... Oh, it's just you. It was just my dog. I'm so sorry, but I was focused on my video. My dog scared me. The Ebola virus can be spread through almost all bodily fluids, from blood, urine, breast milk, tears, sweat, semen, and many others. There's the foaming of the dog's mouth, and rabies is a common sign of the final stages of the infection, and is foaming at the mouth due to the hydrophobia the body is experiencing. Well, this was a fun video. My dog clearly wanted to be a part of it. Thank you, Remy. He's such a silly boy. I really hope you enjoyed this, though.